send you the link.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and now I'd like to present our speaker, and I'd like to thank Abe for getting him today. Our speaker today is Morteza Anvari, U.S.-Iran conflicts expert, presenting a summary background.
I can't get on the sound. I can hear you guys.
I see you.
Yeah.
On U.S.-Iran crisis,
the number and it
provides
says
Iranian-American perspective
2256 is
on
not
the
a
subject.
number.
Dick, I don't know what goes on with the phone. We don't work that way.
Okay. Well, all right. I'll just have to leave the meeting then.
Okay. Well, you
Hear us?
and speaker?
Mr. Ansari has been providing media analyses of the
No, I
U.S.-Iran
can hear over the
relations
speaker.
for over 20 years. He has repeatedly appeared on the Voice
Okay,
of
so I can
America,
hear it, but you can't hear me. Is that right?
Radio Free Europe,
I can hear you.
NPR, and the Iran International live television
You
programs,
can't? Yeah, but that's the only way.
analyzing the politics and economy of
All right.
Iran and the Middle East. Mr. Ansari is a member of the U.S. Army Senior Executive Service, the SES, and currently serving as Director of Programs and Strategy at the U.S. Army Financial Management Comptroller Office. Mr. Ansari previously taught systems engineering courses at the University of Michigan, where he received his 3 engineering degrees. He has developed and maintains an educational website. So, Mort, since you were at the MGO Blue, here's a little something.
Thank you. That's so good.
I went to Vanderbilt, but grew up a huge Ohio State fan. So
yeah, I know. I felt that, Don, from the time I saw you in the Zoom. I felt that you were Ohio fan.
I also want to say hello to Glenys.
Hello,
Hi, which club are you with?
Centerville and Chantilly.
Great. Well, thank you for coming.
thank you for
Thanks
coming.
for having me.
Okay, Mort, it's yours to take now.
Okay. First, I want to thank Rotary International Club of Annandale and in particular Dr. Eftekhari for inviting me, and I'm glad to be here and talk about a subject which is dear to my heart. And currently there is a lot of attention to it that in fact, before this meeting started, Iran International arranged 11 o'clock meeting, interview, but I couldn't do it because after one interview, I get kind of engaged for about an hour. So I didn't do it. But the point here is a very much issue that today is being discussed. And for American businessmen, leaders, thinkers, need to put things in perspective. Even though in today's media frenzy, everybody interprets news, and based on the news, they make a complete conclusion. Events, when you put them next to each other creates a trend that trend needs to be watched. In fact, this particular video that was sent, 2 minutes video from the Las Vegas magician, how he would cut and at the same time the trend either to stay the same or would change differently. Analysis of events is different than analysis of trend. I hope by quickly sewing together history for you, create analysis of trend and kind of have my worry that this trend appears to be not going in the right direction. And our understanding of that from the perspective of Iran and Iranian American might be helpful to you. First of all, I say perspective. Why perspective is different in different places. I had a professor at the University of Michigan was teaching that you get your finger above your head and start turning clockwise and keep bringing clockwise and slowly bring it down. And then look at it later, it turns counterclockwise. It's you, your hand, your eyes, nothing has changed. The perspective has changed. When we're looking at it from the bottom, we're seeing it going counterclockwise, and then when we brought it down, it goes clockwise. So this perspective is important because this perspective is one of the parameters that includes in the equation of how it should be viewed. I have one more things to say before. What I'm talking today here, it is not official position of my office and all the organization that I'm somehow associated with, either being universities, media, or US government, and particularly US Army. But I will help in many occasions as informal, because my job is mainly in financial management, informal guidance and advice to our leaders. But definitely this is not related to my job. So I kind of got a green light to be wild in analysis. So today's arms embargoes, and should the US go to United Nations Security Council and ask to have a snapback, trigger the snapback mechanism that was somehow stated in Resolution 2231 of the United Nations Security Council. So that discussion has become a political in this country. That, oh, Trump doesn't have right to go use that because he got out of JCPOA, or not he can, and things like that. When when in United States something becomes political, as an event might help the trend in United States political a little bit, because I don't think Iran is a major political issue in the United States. For many years, I have been, 45 years I have been in the United States. I came during the Shah. And when I look at the trend, at every election, Iran becomes one of those switch, they turn it on and off. But really the impact, I don't think so. I don't think might affect, first of all, the Iranian voters, Iranian American voters are, let's say, about 1 or 2 million in the United States, and they are spread around the 2-3 states that, particularly in presidential election, will not add that much to the equation. But from the politics of the strategy and what we are doing with Iran, it plays a big role. And I'm trying to draw that trend, that where does it start, the relation between the United States and Iran, and how it's going, and where it is now, and why it is getting to the crisis. Now, what can we do about it? Probably nothing, because except regime change in Iran, nothing would end this wound that is opening bigger and bigger and bigger. But as an Iranian American, I cannot participate, or I cannot legally say that I'm for such action. So there are limits in what we are doing. But where did it start? First of all, the United States and Iran, prior to 1952-3, had almost nothing to do with each other. British were controlling most of the oils in Iran, and the company called Anglo-Persian had almost all the oils of Iran, and everything was good. But then the democratically elected prime minister of Iran, which was, his name was Mossadegh, somehow got entangled with the nationalism of taking that oil from British. He nationalized the oil industry in Iran, and British boycott Iran, and US helped removal of Mossadegh and bringing Shah, which was pro-Western and stayed pro-Western until 1979, which was the revolution. So our engagement with Iran started that. Now, the Islamic Republic of Iran, which after the revolution of 1979 came to the power, they claim that their anti-American, anti-Western idea came from United States or CIA, helping removal of democratic elected president and bringing someone to power that serves the interest. By the way, after Shah came to the power, there under a treaty with US, UK, and French, Shah signed and gave 40% of all the ownership of the oil to these three countries. So we were part of West, it was part of investment. They were building the refineries, they were building, and Shah was getting rich. OPEC started, and then the Shah got over his head. And unfortunately, at the end, when he had cancer, he was just someone who has pain, got mad and started talking about the blue eyes controlling things and things. So things did not go well. And during the Carter in '79, Iran as I guess human rights at that time was the main issue, was not atomic things, but underlying there was, even though US has given the atomic technology to Iran for many, many years, they call it Atom for Peace, that all the developing countries, US were helping them to develop energy, atomic energy, and all the benefit of it without having control to the potential additional enrichment of uranium and others. So that was there. But underneath, I think the move from Iran to become atomic country was the bigger underlying than human rights. But another thing was, another positive things was going at that time. United States was in Cold War with Soviet Union. Iran is in backyard of Soviet Union.
Yep.
Soviet Union, at that time, the communism was spreading like a cake, like a socialism, how it's spreading now. It was just spreading without any control, okay? The only medicine against this spread was what? Islam. So to some degree, United States was supporting an Islamic government. After 1979, when the government of Grand Ayatollah Khomeini came to the power in a very popular revolution that probably over 90% of Iranian people vote to it, but they didn't know what they are voting for because he came like a pope, he came like a peace, he came like a, I'm here to save, and no one knew the other side of this creature. But when he came to the power, there were three countries that they really accepted the government of Iran: United States, Saudi Arabia, and Pakistan. What a strange bedfellow. So they were the first to accept it. But Iran government, which was looking for a big enemy, for a purpose to leave, to a purpose to create that Islamic Shiism, which is a small branch of total Islam, is about like a 9 or 10%. Even when they grow, it's not more than that. It's a 10% of all the Muslims. So this 10%, their idea was they need to take over the world. They need to take the Jerusalem, they call it Quds. They need to do that. So they need the big power to make it as an enemy. What big power? The big power that even accepting them at the beginning, just like your friends turn on you. How long does it take a friend's turn on you to become a serious fight? It doesn't. So when they were saying death to America, death to the West, and death to this, death to Israel, and all these things, it took so many years to be heard even in the United States. Seems like they were noise. They were things. But from the other things, a revolutionary government has come to the power that Iran is a hostage to them. They are in a religious war like ISIS, but they are more sophisticated and richer. Like a difference between the Islamic states that they behead people in the street, and Islamic Republic. Islamic Republic killed 10,000 students at the beginning of revolution because they did not turn to Muslim, and they did it so quietly and hide the bodies, and no one can say anything. But anyway, getting back to the United States, there was a lot of ups and downs. hostage crisis. The hostage crisis, 52 American for 444 days, but the same day that inauguration of the President Reagan, they free them. So they show that they can play game. They can be a look at the particular era for a particular. They start creating militant forces of the Hezbollah, Hamas, and in Lebanon, in the West Bank, and later on helping the local in Iraq, the Shia group to separate themselves to have idea. And in fact, in a war that we had with Iraq, there has been up and down. Initial war, in Persian Gulf War, that Iraq, I mean, the U.S. attacked Iraq because they were holding Kuwait. Iran stayed neutral. But the later on, Iran in 2001, in fact, supported U.S. against Taliban. So you will see a little bit of dual personality in behavior of Iran against U.S. objective and U.S. Strategy. But they created Islamic Republic, Islamic Revolutionary Guard Council, IRGC, which is the main focus was not Iran at all. It was not, it's not part of the military. It's a military by itself for the revolution. And the biggest part of that is they call it Quds or Jerusalem Court in a Persian, you can translate that, that they wanted go take over Israel. The people of Iran are hostage of this government. And United States, based on their politics, sometimes we have a sanction against them. Sometimes we threaten government change or system overthrow or regime change. And we found out there is no plan of regime change ever in the United States. And recently, from 2003 to now, the nuclear and approach of Iran hiding their program, hiding their nuclear enrichment, the amount of it, the facility from IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency, which is responsible to see all the activity of nuclear, resulted in about like a 9-10 resolution of United Nations Council against Iran. And during the Obama presidency, just like it during Bill Clinton, the sanction got to the point that Iran came to its knees and start from 2013 to 2015 to talk about the nuclear, and that resulted in Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, JCPOE, which was effective until President Trump 2018 came out of that. That was a 5+1, and Iran, which is a 5 member of United Nations Security Council, plus Germany. They were talking about a nuclear plan, which they gave some kind of plan or advantage to Iran. If you behave well in 2020, we remove your arms embargo. If you do that, then we can have a heavy weaponry and things like that. So this October is a due date for arms embargo against Iran. So Iran was embargoed, not related to Trump, not related to anything. It was to their nuclear behavior with all member of National Security Council to include Russian and Chinese, and everybody agreed that they should not, because they were using this arm to send it to Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Yemen, and others to mess up the Middle East with their code to make American uncomfortable and leave, and then can have an easier hand to what their long-term objective is, that there is a belt, just like the Chinese, they have a belt. These guys, they have a belt that they goes from Iran to Iraq to Syria to Lebanon. And the expansion of that, it has been real. And in many times, in fact, our war, the 2019 Army study shows the main beneficiary of our Iraq war was expansion of Iran in Iraq. In fact, they colonized that place. All the problem that you see in Iraq is made by Iran. So I don't know, do we want a time for question and answer to make it more target, because it's a small group? So rather than I talk, if you let me, Dr. Eftekhari knows, once teacher, always talkative. So I just want to give you a little background. Now, there is a lot of discussion in United States that if we use a snapback mechanism, we have, first of all, we have isolated all around the world, and we get more isolated. But my point here, as an Iranian American, this is the issue that needs to be addressed. And however it is addressed and thought, it's better than just turning it to too much political game that prolong this trend of existence of these terrorist Islamic Republic of Iran.
Very good.
Okay, any question? Okay.
Well,
Where do you think that United States is standing with Iran's situation at this moment, currently?
See, the map of Middle East is changing. The map of Middle East is changing, and that is by these days by United Arab Emirates peace treaty with Israel. That indicates this trend is growing, and in fact, they talk Yemen and other countries, in addition to Egypt and Jordan, that they're already there, and Sudan actually is a big country. So the map is changing. We have seen in these 40 years or 41 years of Islamic Republic government, anytime financial and the pressure comes, they back, because they start with nothing. So these are not coming from the powers of, kingdom or powers of wealth. They are just taking people's houses and things like that, and they claim it their own. And there's a corruption is all over. It's just like there is a 2,000 family gang of mullahs that I'm not sure how much is mullahs, because there are a lot of good mullahs in Iran. At least at my time, there were a lot of mullahs that they were not political, they were religious, they were trying to address differently, but these are political creatures that they are after their own benefit, and they look at all the opportunities. So when they get with the United States, when they are back to the wall. Right now, within the last 2 weeks, they are using neighboring country like Pakistan and one of the Arabic country to start the negotiation. When President Trump says, if I become president within a month, I negotiate with Iran, it was not based on his wish. It was based on pre-signal that Iran was saying that I negotiate with you, but not now, because this is a election year, and they are counting. They were counting on Mr. Biden, Democrat, but overall, Iranians are more trustful of Republican than Democrat, because the revolution, even though happened during the Carter, but the attack to Iran, and there were most of the initial sanctions started during the Bill Clinton and Obama, and President Trump continued all those sanctions and made it a little bit more effective. So there is a possibility of, they have done it several times. They did it in 2001. They did it in Afghanistan war that they came against Taliban. They have done it in drug traffic. They have done several exchange of prisoners. They recently have several exchange of prisoners. So they are trying to keep some doors open, because that's their survival. They cannot be completely isolated. Despite everybody says US is isolated, you don't know how Islamic Republic is isolated.
So, I mean, there's some basic problems that the United States has with Iran. Their support of and exportation of terrorism through Hezbollah and Hamas, and continued threats to Israel. And where you say that the JCPOA was effective, my personal view is that it guaranteed a nuclear weapon to Iran by 2020. It didn't stop them; it just delayed them. So I thought that was personally felt that was a bad deal to get into altogether. But so we have today countries making peace with Israel: Sudan, Bahrain, Oman, Morocco, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar are all planning on joining peace with the, including UAE and Egypt, with Israel. What's Iran feeling about that?
Oh, Bob, one thing I have to correct myself. If I say JCPOA was a good deal, definitely it was good deal for Iran because it was under pressure, and it was not a good deal for the United States. And I 100% agree from the American national perspective, not from the relation perspective. Because some people, we had during the Albright, that she actually apologized for the Mossadegh, the Prime Minister Mossadegh, which current government of Iran doesn't even believe on that. I mean, if you are supporter of Mossadegh, they put you in jail in Iran. So they're using any issue. So JCPOA, it was to advantage of Iran, it was disadvantage of us. Second, the technicality is coming out and using a snapback trigger is the legal issue and is being addressed. And I think Secretary Pompeo is right that since this is in a resolution 2231, that any member of United Nations can accuse Iran, which was accused in IAEA. A few months ago, they addressed that they had a nuclear site. Even the time that they were negotiating, they were lying. So no, I'm not. If I said it, I might be sarcastic. I said, people say, why did you come out? If you come out, but that has become a legal issue. And yeah, last night I was looking at the John Bolton interview. He was saying if he was going to use this, he shouldn't come out, and if he came out, he shouldn't use this because there might be, because some they interpret that was embarrassment on the arms embargo, that only we had two votes, one vote in addition to United States supporting US resolution. But the issue of snapback is reversed.
Yeah.
US complains, they have to say it's okay. If majority say okay, then US can use a veto. But Bolton was saying using the veto this way is too much of a political prize for our country for things that could be handled much easier.
I agreed with Bolton on that. Or what about the peace agreements with Israel that are emerging?
Oh, this is a big, big game changer. First of all, Iranian and Jewish people goes back to Darius' time that we had no problem. I was born in a city called Hamadan. We had like a 25 Jewish, about like a 16, 17 Armenian, and the rest was Muslim. Honest to God, I was born during the Shah, so I don't know. I did not know some of my friends what religion they have until I went to college. It was that type of thing. So, and then in Arab-Israeli wars in the late 60s and early 70s, or 70 up to 73, what the government of Iran was side of Israel. Even though it did not get directly in a war, but both intelligence-wise and others was that side. And we don't have any base as an Iranian. We don't have any base to kind of have a fight with Israel, except this religious war that this Islamic Republic of Iran is imposing on people. Any other question?
Yes,
I've got, yes. Which of the sanctions against Iran do you think have been most effective?
Oh, the sanction, one is the strategically, if you look at the Iran, what was planning to do, if you look at the expansion of the militarization of the area, these arms embargoes hurt it a lot. But the real one was this oil embargo that recently was part of the maximum pressure tactic that really made Iran paralyzed. In fact, when you hear these days in the news, the transfer of oil from Iran to Venezuela, that the first two that they made, which is they give it free. Venezuela doesn't have money to give. And in fact, if you take money from, with that size tanker from Iran to Venezuela, the price it would be so high that it's stupid for the oil country itself not to spend on digging. But anyway, the second one sent, it was a stop. Everybody says, oh, I mean, Iran says it was not our oil, it was not that big, but it was the oil that they sold to Greek company to transfer. Now that Greek company gets penalized, no other country do use this bypass legal, and they turn their signals off. They do a lot. But I think the oil was their biggest point of pressure.
I agree.
But strategically, arms embargo. One is a survival, one is strategically.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I leave now, and you guys have a team discussion. Good luck.
thank you.
Hey, Mark, appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
And then, Bob, do you want to talk about the awards from the weekend?
Yeah. What always here. The district, you know, we're in a new time here, our new normal, with everything being virtual. So we normally have a district award ceremony, and which recognizes the clubs and the members for doing good things, or you say they're doing the things they should be doing to help Rotary and help the communities that they help to serve. So they award us in that recognition. This year, let me share the screen here. This year, we only received 2 awards. We weren't as active as we normally were, and we didn't fill out all the paperwork we could have. This award here, if you can see it on the left, that award went to all clubs because of the challenges of the COVID and people actually doing stuff. Jonathan, the previous district governor, decided to give all clubs this award. And I received this recognition over here on the right for being the area governor for area, assistant governor for area 8, which was, we had some good clubs in the area, and so that was that.
I got an award for the card program.
I'm sorry, what?
I did get an award for the card fund.
Oh, great.
Oh, good.
Good job.
Good job. So there's Juanita Carley got recognized as the Rotarian of the Year. Tintin's husband got recognized for 50+ years as a Rotarian. There were a number of, there were some clubs did some very good service, and they didn't give out a summary of the awards. I'll try to get that for you. And they had about 50 people on the call for the virtual district conference, which only took an hour, which was very pleasurable because it normally takes about 4 or 5 hours. And we didn't have to drive down to Fredericksburg for it. So a lot of positives about COVID in some way. That's all I've got. So, you want to talk about the next meeting, John?
Sure, yep. So the next meeting for us will be on Wednesday, September the 2nd. And our speaker will be, he is an old friend of mine. He's a freelance videographer who has done a tremendous amount of work, everything from being literally on the floor filming down when down in the Senate and House, as well as accompanying presidents on Air Force One to various speaking engagements, campaigns, etc. So it should be pretty interesting, kind of his viewpoint on where things are and are going from a news perspective too. But gets hired out by the likes of all the big networks, and he's on call all the time. So
we're going to a 2-week meeting schedule, virtual meeting schedule at this point. We'll see if we want to go to more meetings more frequently, but right now we're at every other week. And hopefully we'll get a good participation and some good speakers. Ted, do you want to talk about the board decision? Can't hear you. You're muted, Ted. There you go.
I'm thinking that that's going to be reflected in the billing.
Okay, you just want to tell them about it, or?
Well, we've agreed to waive the club dues for this quarter. So the billing will be for the district and international dues only.
So it's really cheap to be a member of our club this quarter. No meals and no club dues.
Well, like you say, Bob, the menu at your venue is unlimited, just about imagination.
Absolutely.
I was expecting that Bobby knocks my door and bring my food.
Yeah, I missed my breakfast at lunchtime. Anybody else have anything they'd like to bring to our attention or general discussion?
Abe, thank you very much for getting our speaker today.
Thank you.
Yeah, very knowledgeable guy.
Thank you.
Yes, it was interesting. I didn't even know enough to ask a good question, but it was interesting.
Yeah.
It's a very, this week, I was watching the regular news and there was the scroll on the bottom. All of a sudden I had to wind it back to see that Sudan was planning a peace agreement with Israel. I go, geez, this stuff is just rolling forward at a tremendous pace, which is phenomenal, really. You never know what unleashes the good stuff, because bad stuff happens quickly.
Yeah.
It's surprising when good stuff happens quickly.
Yeah.
What happens? Anybody else? Want to do the 4-way test?
Sure.
Do we remember it?
Yeah.
Nothing to look at.
Yeah. Jim, would you lead us?
Please join us in the 4-way test. Is it the truth?
Is it
Is
fair
it
to
fair to
all concerned?
Concerned.
Will
Goodwill, better friendships. Will it be
be
beneficial?
to all concerned?
Is it fun?
That,
Is it fun? Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much, and thank you all for participating.
One thing about saying things in unison doesn't work.
it can with practice.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Audio.